Hi guys, tonight, we travel back into a world that has been quiet for many centuries. A world of dark water and long wooden houses. A world where mornings came slowly, through a gray sky, and where the first sounds of the day were often the soft crackle of a cooking fire, the movement of animals, and the low voices of people waking from sleep. Close your eyes, relax, and drift into history. Imagine the northern coast before sunrise. The sea is dark. The hills are only shapes beneath the fading night. A thin mist rests over the fields, and somewhere beyond the settlement, water moves gently against a rocky shore. There are no bright streets. No distant lamps. Only the faint glow of a fire inside a wooden house, and the pale beginning of morning spreading slowly across the sky. Welcome to another quiet journey through the past. Tonight, our journey takes us into the ordinary world of the Vikings. Not the world of famous kings. Not the world of great battles. Not the world of dramatic voyages remembered in old stories. Instead, we will stay close to the ground. We will sit beside the hearth. We will walk across damp earth in the early morning. We will listen to the wind moving through the grass. We will watch someone prepare a simple meal while the rest of the household slowly wakes. We will spend time with farmers, craftspeople, fishermen, children, elders, servants, and families whose names were never written down. These were the people who made up most of Viking life. Their days were usually not filled with adventure. Most days were made from smaller things. Carrying water. Feeding animals. Grinding grain. Repairing clothing. Cutting wood. Cleaning fish. Mending nets. Milking cows. Watching the weather. Preparing food. Working in the fields. Waiting for spring. Waiting for summer. Waiting for the long darkness of winter to pass. And then beginning again. This is boring history for sleep. Relax. And step gently into the northern world. The Viking Age stretched across several centuries, roughly from the late 8th century into the 11th century, and it covered a large northern region of Europe. There were communities in what we now call Norway, Denmark, and Sweden. There were settlements across Iceland and Greenland. There were Norse communities in the British Isles and Ireland. There were trading towns along the Baltic Sea and deep into the rivers of Eastern Europe. But wherever these people lived, daily life was shaped by the same quiet things. Weather. Food. Wood. Animals. Water. Light. Work. And the changing seasons. For an ordinary household, the year mattered more than any particular date. Winter was winter. Spring brought certain kinds of work. Summer brought others. Autumn was a time for gathering and preparing. Then the darkness returned. Life moved according to the land. And the land moved according to the sky. So let us remain here for a while, before the sun has fully risen. The settlement is still quiet. A longhouse stands low against the morning landscape. Its walls are made from timber, perhaps covered with woven material and clay or earth in places where extra protection is needed. The roof is thick with layers of turf, thatch, or other local materials. From outside, it appears simple. Inside, however, the house is full of life. The longhouse is not merely a place where people sleep. It is a home. A workshop. A kitchen. A shelter for animals in some settlements. A place for eating, talking, repairing things, working, and resting. The center of the house is dominated by the hearth. The fire is already alive. Someone must have stirred it. Perhaps a woman rose before the others. Perhaps an older member of the household. perhaps whoever happened to wake first. There is no need for clocks. The body knows that morning is coming. The embers glow softly. A little smoke moves upward toward the roof opening. The smell of ash mixes with the smell of damp wood, wool, leather, and yesterday's cooking. The air inside is warmer than the air outside. That warmth matters. Northern winters can be long. The darkness can stretch for many hours. A fire is not decoration. It is warmth. It is light. It is cooking. It is part of the center of household life. Someone places another piece of wood onto the embers. For a moment, the fire brightens. Small sparks rise. Then everything becomes quiet again. There are sleeping places arranged along the walls. People may sleep on benches or raised platforms, covered with skins, woven textiles, blankets, or other materials available to the household. There is not much privacy. Families live closely together. The sounds of breathing, coughing, shifting bodies, and occasional quiet conversation belong to the night. Children sleep near adults. Animals may be close by. The smell of smoke is everywhere. The darkness is never completely empty. There is always the hearth. Always the faint orange light. Always the possibility that someone will wake and add more fuel. For a person living in such a home, the rhythm of the fire becomes part of the rhythm of sleep. It burns. It settles. It glows. It burns again. And slowly, morning arrives. Outside, the settlement begins to wake. A dog moves across the packed ground. A sheep makes a quiet sound. A horse shifts its weight. Someone opens a wooden door. Cold air enters. For a moment, the warmth of the longhouse seems to pull backward. The person steps outside anyway. There is work waiting. There is always some work waiting. This is one of the simplest truths about Viking Age life. Work did not necessarily mean a single occupation. A farmer was rarely only a farmer. A person might grow grain, care for animals, repair tools, gather fuel, fish, build fences, prepare food, and help with many other tasks. A craftsperson could still keep animals. A household that produced cloth might also grow food. A family that lived beside the sea could still maintain a small field. Life was not neatly divided into separate jobs. Instead, it was woven together. One task led naturally into another. And most tasks depended on someone else. The farmer needed tools. The toolmaker needed food. The household needed cloth. The cloth maker needed wool. The wool came from sheep. The sheep needed pasture. The pasture needed land. And the land depended upon rain and sunlight. Everything connected. So the morning begins without hurry. There is no reason to rush through the first moments. The sky is slowly changing. Perhaps it is pale blue. Perhaps gray. Perhaps covered with clouds. The northern weather can change quickly. The people of these settlements had to pay close attention to it. Rain could make roads soft. Strong winds could make the sea dangerous. Cold could damage crops. A long period of wet weather could make daily work difficult. A warm season could help the harvest. The weather was not simply something to look at. It was part of daily planning. Someone steps toward the animals. Cattle need attention. Sheep need watching. Horses must be cared for. Pigs may wander around the settlement. Chickens scratch near the buildings. Dogs move between people. The animals are not separate from household life. They are part of it. Cattle provide milk. Sheep provide wool. Horses carry people and goods. Pigs provide meat. Dogs help with herding and guarding. Every animal requires care. And caring for animals is one of those repetitive tasks that slowly fills a life. The same gate is opened. The same bucket is carried. The same path is walked. The same animals are checked. Morning after morning. Season after season. Perhaps a young person carries water. The container is heavy. The ground is uneven. The walk is familiar. There is no need to think about every step. The body knows the path. The settlement is still quiet. Smoke rises from several roofs now. The first smells of cooking begin to spread. Grain is being prepared. Perhaps barley. Perhaps oats. The exact food depends upon the place, the season, and the resources of the household. Grain is precious because it takes time to grow and harvest. It must be stored. It must be protected from dampness. It must be ground before it can become many kinds of food. Grinding grain is slow work. A hand turns a stone. Grain moves beneath it. The stone makes a soft, rough sound. Back and forth. Back and forth. The sound is simple. Almost rhythmic. The flour collects. The work continues. There is something peaceful about repetitive work when it has been done so many times that the hands know what to do. A person does not need to hurry. The grain will still be there. The stone will still turn. The morning will continue. Perhaps the flour will become porridge. Perhaps it will be mixed into a simple dough. Bread was not necessarily a daily food in every household in the way we might imagine from later periods, but baked or cooked grain foods were important. Porridge could be made from grains. Flatbreads could be prepared. Other foods could be cooked alongside them. The hearth becomes busy. A pot sits above the fire. Water warms. The smell of grain fills the room. Someone adds food. Someone stirs. A child waits nearby. The first meal of the day does not need to be elaborate. The important thing is that it provides enough strength for the work ahead. There may be fish. There may be dairy. There may be dried or salted meat. There may be vegetables, herbs, berries, nuts, or other local foods depending on the season and location. Food changes with the landscape. Along the coast, the sea offers fish and shellfish. In farming areas, people depend more heavily on grain, livestock, and stored foods. In the forest, wild resources can become important. Nothing is wasted easily. Food has taken work to produce. It should be used carefully. The same is true of clothing. Wool must come from sheep. The wool must be cleaned and prepared. It must be spun. The thread must be woven. The fabric must be cut and sewn. Linen can require another long chain of work, beginning with plants grown and processed into fibers. Clothing is not simply something chosen from a collection. It is something that may have taken many hours of labor. A tunic. A dress. A cloak. A pair of trousers. A cap. A belt. A pair of shoes. Each item has a story of materials and hands. The clothing of ordinary people is practical. It must survive work. It must survive rain. It must survive cold. It must survive repeated washing and wear. Wool is especially useful in the northern climate. It holds warmth. It can be woven into thick cloth. It can be made into blankets and other useful textiles. A person might spend long hours spinning wool. The spindle turns. The fibers stretch. The thread grows. The work is repetitive. It can be done while talking. It can be done while watching children. It can be done while sitting beside the hearth. The hands remain busy while the mind can wander. Perhaps this is how much of Viking Age life felt. Not dramatic. Not silent either. Just filled with small sounds. The turning of a spindle. The grinding of grain. The chopping of wood. The creaking of a door. The sound of water. The soft movement of animals. The occasional voice. The fire. And outside, the wind. The longhouse holds all of these sounds together. As the morning grows brighter, more people begin to move. Someone leaves to work in the fields. Someone stays behind to prepare food. Someone repairs a tool. Someone checks the roof. Someone looks after children. Someone begins weaving. Someone prepares to fish. A young person might be sent to gather wood. Another might help with animals. Older children learn by watching. They do not need a formal classroom for every skill. Knowledge lives in ordinary actions. A child watches an adult tie a knot. Later, the child tries. A child watches grain being ground. Later, the child turns the stone. A child watches a sheep being sheared. Later, the child learns how wool is handled. A child hears stories. A child listens to instructions. A child remembers. The knowledge of the household moves quietly from one generation to another. And there is plenty of time. Not because the days are empty. They are not. But because the same tasks return again and again. The field must be prepared each year. The animals must be fed each day. The wool must be spun. The nets must be repaired. The roof must be checked. The fire must be maintained. The food must be prepared. The work has a rhythm. And rhythm creates a kind of calm. Let us walk away from the longhouse now. The settlement lies behind us. Ahead is a field. The soil is dark and damp. The grass bends in the morning breeze. The field is not perfectly neat. There are stones. There are patches of uneven ground. The land is not an empty surface waiting to be controlled. It is something people work with. They know where the soil is good. They know where water gathers. They know which areas are best for grazing. They know when to plant. They know when to harvest. The seasons tell them. A farmer works slowly. The tool is simple. The body does much of the labor. There are no engines. No machines moving independently. If something must be carried, someone carries it. If soil must be turned, someone turns it. If wood must be cut, someone cuts it. If a fence breaks, someone repairs it. Physical work is everywhere. It makes the body tired. And tiredness is familiar. At the end of a long day, there is no mystery about why someone wants to sit near the fire. A farmer pauses. The wind moves across the field. For a moment, there is nothing to do. The person looks toward the settlement. Smoke rises slowly. The sea may be visible in the distance. The sky is wide. There are birds moving above the fields. Then the work begins again. A few steps. A few more. The same motion. The same earth. The same quiet day. In some places, the land is difficult. Northern farming communities had to make use of whatever soil and climate they had. The growing season could be short. The winters could be severe. A bad harvest could make the coming months harder. So preparation mattered. Food had to be stored. Animals had to survive the cold. Buildings had to remain strong. Fuel had to be gathered. Clothing had to be ready. The coming winter could be felt long before it arrived. This gave the seasons a strong presence in daily life. Summer was not simply warm weather. It was a season of work. There was light for many hours. There was more time to travel, repair buildings, grow food, gather resources, and complete tasks that were difficult during winter. Autumn brought preparation. The harvest came in. Food was dried, salted, smoked, or stored in other ways. Animals were managed carefully. Winter supplies were checked. The daylight became shorter. Then winter arrived. The world changed. Snow could cover paths. The sea became more difficult. The fields became quiet. The longhouse became even more important. Inside, people worked close together. The fire became the center of the day. There would still be chores. There would still be animals. There would still be repairs. But the rhythm changed. There was less outdoor work. More time for weaving. More time for carving. More time for storytelling. More time for repairing tools. More time for sitting. And perhaps more time for sleep. For now, though, we are still in the morning. The sun is climbing. The settlement is fully awake. Near one of the buildings, someone is working with wood. Wood is everywhere in the northern world. Houses are made from it. Boats are made from it. Tools use it. Furniture uses it. Fences use it. Containers can be made from it. Fuel comes from it. A person skilled with wood has many useful things to do. A plank must be shaped. A handle must be fitted. A damaged board must be replaced. A bowl must be carved. A small box might be made. A post may need straightening. The work is careful. The sound of the tool against wood is steady. Tap. Pause. Tap. A curl of wood falls to the ground. The person brushes it aside. Another cut. Another shaving. The smell of fresh wood spreads through the air. It is a simple smell. Green. Dry. Earthy. Familiar. Nearby, another person may be working with iron. The Viking Age was a time when iron tools were important. Knives. Nails. Hinges. Tools for farming. Tools for woodworking. Tools for other crafts. The production of iron objects could be demanding. Or had to be obtained. It had to be processed. Heat was needed. Skill was needed. A blacksmith's work was physically difficult. The workshop could become hot. The fire could glow brightly. The sound of hammering could carry through the settlement. But even here, there is a quiet rhythm beneath the work. Heat. Hammer. Metal. Water. Hammer again. A piece slowly takes shape. A blade becomes thinner. An edge becomes sharper. A nail becomes straight. A tool becomes useful. And then the finished object enters ordinary life. It might never become famous. It might never be placed in a grave rich enough to survive in an archaeological record. It might simply be used. A knife cutting food. A nail holding wood. A tool working the soil. A small object helping someone get through another ordinary day. This is the kind of history that can disappear easily. The great events leave stories. Ordinary days leave fewer traces. Yet ordinary days are where most people lived. A farmer who woke before sunrise. A person who spent hours spinning wool. A child carrying small pieces of wood. Someone preparing fish. Someone repairing shoes. Someone watching a pot over the fire. Someone waiting for a family member to return from the sea. Someone sleeping deeply after a long day. These moments formed the larger world. The sea, especially, shaped many Viking communities. Let us move toward it now. The path slopes gently downward. The air becomes cooler. There is a smell of salt. The ground is damp. The sound comes first. Water against the shore. A soft rhythm. Again. And again. Small waves touch the rocks. The boats rest nearby. The famous longships of the Viking Age were highly capable vessels, but not every boat was a warship. People needed boats for ordinary purposes. Fishing. Transport. Travel between settlements. Carrying goods. Moving along rivers. Crossing stretches of water. A boat is useful because water can connect places that would be difficult to reach by land. But boats also require constant care. Wood needs attention. Ropes need checking. Sails need repair. Planks may need maintenance. Oars can break. A boat is never simply finished forever. It is something that must be watched. Someone walks along the shoreline. The tide has changed. The boat rocks gently. A rope creaks. The person reaches down and checks a knot. It holds. That is enough. There is no need to do more. A little farther away, fishermen prepare their work. Nets are checked. Lines are handled. Hooks are examined. The morning may be good for fishing. Or it may not. The sea decides much of this. A calm surface can become rough. A clear morning can become cloudy. Wind direction matters. The season matters. The location matters. Fishing requires patience. There is no guarantee. A person may spend hours on the water and return with only a modest catch. But fish can be deeply important. They can be eaten fresh. They can be dried. They can be salted or otherwise preserved. Preserved fish can last longer and help carry food through difficult seasons. So the fisherman waits. The boat moves. The water rises and falls. The oar enters. The oar leaves. The boat glides. There is nothing hurried about it. From the water, the settlement looks small. A few buildings. A few fields. Smoke. Animals. People moving slowly. The surrounding hills. The open sea. The fisherman knows the shoreline. Perhaps there are familiar rocks. Familiar islands. Familiar places where fish are often found. The landscape becomes part of memory. People remember places without needing written maps for every small journey. They remember the shape of the land. The direction of the wind. The position of the sun. The movement of the water. They remember. And the boat continues. For someone living near the sea, water is both a source of food and a path toward other places. Merchants travel. Goods move. People move. Ideas move. A small settlement can be connected to a much larger world. But when we think about that larger world, it is easy to imagine only ships arriving from distant places. For the ordinary person, however, most days remain close to home. A person might spend months without seeing a distant port. The horizon can remain simply the horizon. The sea can be part of the daily landscape without becoming an invitation to adventure. This is important. The Viking world was not constantly moving. Most people had routines. And routines are comforting. A familiar shore. A familiar path. A familiar house. A familiar fire. A familiar bowl. A familiar sleeping place. Even when the world around them was uncertain, the repeated shape of the day gave life a pattern. Back in the settlement, midday is approaching. The first meal has passed. Work continues. The sun is higher. The air is warmer. Someone returns from the field. Someone else is carrying a basket. A child is sitting near the doorway. Perhaps an older person is working with wool. The longhouse is not quiet now. There are voices. Footsteps. Animals. Tools. The fire. But it is not loud in the way a modern city might be loud. There are no engines. No machines. No constant mechanical hum. The dominant sounds come from living things and simple tools. People speaking. Animals calling. Wood moving. Water flowing. Wind passing through grass. A hammer striking metal. A spindle turning. The sounds are separate. They appear and disappear. Then the settlement becomes quiet again. Someone enters the longhouse. The door closes. For a moment, the outside world becomes distant. The person places something down. Perhaps food. Perhaps wool. Perhaps a tool. Inside, the light is softer. The smoke hangs beneath the roof. The fire has burned down. Someone adds fuel. A pot is moved. There is another meal to prepare. Food preparation is one of the great repeating rhythms of human history. People must eat. And because they must eat, someone must prepare food. The work can take much longer than the meal itself. Grain must be ground. Fish must be cleaned. Meat must be cut. Milk must be processed. Food must be gathered. Wood must be collected. Fire must be started. Water must be carried. The meal comes together slowly. There may be no elaborate table. People sit on benches. They use bowls. They share food. The household eats. The meal is ordinary. And ordinary is enough. Perhaps there is warm porridge. The steam rises. Someone holds the bowl carefully. The warmth reaches the hands. Outside, the wind moves across the settlement. Inside, there is warmth. For a moment, nobody needs to go anywhere. This is one of the quietest parts of the day. The work has not ended. But the body is allowed to rest. A person eats slowly. Children may become distracted. Someone speaks. Someone listens. Someone looks into the fire. The flames move gently. There is a kind of stillness in the middle of the day. Then eventually, the work begins again. A woven textile needs finishing. A tool needs repair. A field needs attention. The animals need checking. There is always another small task. The household continues. And perhaps this is the best way to imagine the Viking Age. Not as one long story of voyages and battles, but as thousands upon thousands of ordinary days. Morning. Work. Food. Rest. Work again. Evening. Fire. Sleep. Then morning again. The same basic rhythm could continue for years. A child grows. A young person becomes an adult. An adult becomes older. The household changes. Buildings are repaired. Fields are planted. Animals are born. Animals grow old. Children become workers. People leave. People return. The seasons continue. The sea continues to move. The fire continues to burn. And the longhouse remains at the center of it all. As afternoon begins to soften, shadows lengthen across the settlement. The busiest work slowly begins to slow. The farmer looks toward the field. Enough for today. The tools are carried back. The animals are checked once more. A gate is closed. A bucket is put away. A piece of wood is placed beside the house. There will be more work tomorrow. There is no need to finish everything. Some things can wait. The sky begins to change. The light becomes warmer. The sea reflects the evening. A cool breeze moves inland. The smoke from the longhouses becomes easier to see against the sky. One by one, people return indoors. The settlement grows quieter. The fire becomes brighter in the dim room. Someone begins preparing the evening meal. Outside, a dog settles near the doorway. A horse shifts in the enclosure. The fields are empty now. The path that was busy in the morning is nearly still. The sea continues its quiet movement. Inside, the longhouse becomes a small world of warmth. The hearth glows. People sit close. Wool is handled. Wood is carved. Food is prepared. Someone repairs a piece of clothing. The same hands that worked outside now perform smaller tasks. The light is fading. Soon the fire will be the main source of brightness. The room will become darker around its edges. Shadows will move across the walls. The people inside may speak more quietly. There is less reason to raise a voice. The day is almost finished. And somewhere outside, beneath the wide northern sky, the first stars begin to appear. The Viking Age is often remembered through movement. Ships crossing water. People traveling. Goods changing hands. New settlements forming. But there was also stillness. A great deal of stillness. The stillness of a winter field. The stillness of a sleeping animal. The stillness of a person sitting beside the hearth. The stillness of a boat resting against the shore. The stillness that comes after everyone has gone indoors. Tonight, we stay with that stillness. We stay with the ordinary. We stay with the warm fire. We stay with the slow work. And as the evening deepens, the longhouse becomes quieter. The fire continues to burn. The people have eaten. The tools have been put away. The doors are closed. Outside, the northern wind moves gently across the dark land. And somewhere beyond the settlement, the sea continues its ancient rhythm. In. Out. Against the shore. Then back again. The people inside do not need to watch it. They know it is there. They can hear it. Perhaps faintly. Perhaps not at all. The night is settling over the settlement now. And slowly, one by one, the voices disappear. The work can wait until morning. The fields can wait. The boats can wait. The wool can wait. The tools can wait. For now, there is only the fire. The darkness. The warmth. And the quiet breathing of a household settling into sleep. I'll keep the next part flowing directly from this evening atmosphere, without restarting the story or introducing a new opening. The fire continues to burn. The longhouse has become a small island of warmth in the darkness. Beyond its walls, the settlement is almost invisible now. There are no fields to see. No distant hills. No boats resting at the shore. Only darkness. The people inside do not need to see very far. The world has become smaller for the night. There is the hearth. There are the walls. There are the sleeping places. There are the familiar sounds of people moving quietly through the room. Someone turns over on a bench. Someone pulls a blanket closer. A child coughs softly and then settles again. The fire makes a small sound. A piece of wood collapses into the embers. For a moment, the room becomes brighter. Then the light lowers again. This is how night can feel when there is very little artificial light. Darkness is not something that must be pushed away. It simply arrives. And people live within it. The day has been long. Perhaps someone is still awake. An older person may sit near the hearth, slowly working with wool. The fingers move almost without thought. Pull. Twist. Turn. The spindle rotates. The thread becomes longer. There is no need to finish tonight. The work can continue tomorrow. The same piece of wool may still be waiting when the morning comes. Nearby, someone may be repairing a garment. The fabric is worn at the edge. The person holds it close to the firelight. A small needle passes through. In and out. The repair is not decorative. It is practical. Clothing has value because clothing protects the body. A hole must be closed. A loose seam must be strengthened. A worn piece may be patched. A patch may itself become worn. Then another patch is added. Clothes can carry the marks of years. A sleeve becomes soft from use. A cloak may smell faintly of smoke. Wool gathers tiny pieces of grass and dirt. Leather becomes darker with age. Shoes become shaped by the feet that wear them. Nothing is completely untouched by daily life. Even the simplest object becomes familiar. A wooden bowl. A knife. A spoon. A belt. A comb. A cup. A blanket. A person's hands know these things. They reach for them without thinking. The Viking household is filled with objects that are useful because they are familiar. There is no need for a great number of possessions. Each item has a purpose. And each useful thing must be maintained. A broken bowl may be difficult to replace. A damaged tool may mean extra work tomorrow. A torn garment may expose the body to cold. A leaking roof can make an entire night uncomfortable. So ordinary maintenance is part of life. The people of the household are always quietly repairing the world around them. A little wood here. A little thread there. A new piece of leather. A tightened rope. A sharpened blade. A repaired wall. A fresh layer of roofing material. A cleaned cooking pot. Small acts of care. Small acts that allow a household to continue. The fire burns lower. Someone reaches toward it. A piece of wood is added. The flames rise. The faces around the room become visible again. There is no rush. The night is still young. During the darker months, people would have many hours to spend indoors. The longhouse could become a place for work and social life as much as for sleeping. There might be stories. There might be songs. There might be conversation. People might remember relatives. They might discuss animals. They might talk about the weather. They might wonder whether the road will be passable tomorrow. They might speak about a ship that has not yet returned. They might talk about a harvest. Or a marriage. Or a piece of land. Or a broken tool. The subjects of ordinary conversation do not need to be dramatic. A household has its own small world. And that world provides enough to talk about. Children listen. Sometimes they understand. Sometimes they do not. They learn the names of people. They learn the habits of adults. They learn which animals belong to the household. They learn where things are stored. They learn how the seasons change. They learn what work is expected of them. There is no sharp boundary between childhood and the working world. Children can help with small tasks as they grow. A young child might carry something light. An older child might help with animals. Another might gather fuel. Someone may learn to spin. Someone may learn to fish. Someone may learn to work wood. Someone may learn to cook. The household itself is the place where knowledge is gathered. The child watches. The child tries. The adult corrects. Then the child tries again. Eventually, the task becomes familiar. And one day, without anyone making a special announcement, the child can do it alone. This is how skills pass through generations. Quietly. One pair of hands teaching another. The fire has become mostly embers now. Someone covers the coals carefully. The warmth will remain. The sleeping places are ready. Perhaps a few skins have been arranged. Perhaps blankets lie folded nearby. The floor may be covered in packed earth or other materials depending on the house. The air is smoky. It smells of wood and wool. The roof above is dark. The opening that allows smoke to escape is somewhere overhead. The night outside is cold. The warmth inside feels precious. A person lies down. The body sinks into the bedding. There is no soft mattress in the modern sense. Sleeping conditions vary. Some people have better bedding than others. Some have more comfortable places. Some have less. But after a long day of physical work, even a simple sleeping place can feel welcome. The muscles are tired. The hands are tired. The feet are tired. The mind is quiet. There is nothing left to carry. Nothing left to repair. Nothing left to harvest. Not tonight. The fire is still there. The house is still there. The people are still there. That is enough. And slowly, sleep comes. Outside, the wind moves across the grass. It touches the roof. It moves around the walls. The sea continues its steady motion. The waves do not care about the hour. They come and go in the darkness. The boat rests. The fields rest. The animals rest. And the household rests. Until morning. Morning in the Viking world could arrive slowly. The sky may brighten before the sun appears. A gray light might enter through the doorway when it opens. The first person awake may listen for a moment. The room is still. Then comes movement. A hand reaches toward the embers. The fire must be brought back to life. A small breath of air. A piece of dry material. A little fuel. The embers brighten. A flame appears. Another day begins. The rhythm starts again. There is no announcement. No great beginning. Just warmth returning to the hearth. A pot is placed nearby. Water is carried. Someone steps outside. The cold air enters. For a moment, the whole house seems to wake with that movement. Then the door closes. The day is beginning. During winter, the morning can be especially quiet. Snow may cover the ground. The fields may disappear beneath white. The roofs may hold a layer of frost. The sea may look darker. The air may sting the face. A person stepping outside would notice the cold immediately. The animals still need care. Even in winter, cattle must be fed. Sheep must be watched. Horses need food. The work does not disappear simply because the ground is frozen. Someone carries hay. The bundle is heavy. The path is slippery. Footprints appear in the snow. The person reaches the animals. Warm breath rises from their mouths. The animals move closer. There is a quiet sound of chewing. The person remains for a while. Checking. Watching. Making sure the animals are well. Winter survival depends partly upon this steady care. Animals are not only food. They provide milk, wool, transport, and other useful resources. Keeping them alive through winter is part of keeping the household alive. So even in deep cold, someone goes outside. Every morning. Every afternoon. Again and again. The same path. The same animals. The same careful movements. Then the person returns inside. Cold air comes through the doorway. The warmth of the fire feels stronger. The door closes. The household continues. Winter creates a different kind of work. There may be less work in the fields, but there is still plenty to do indoors. Wool becomes especially important. A sheep's fleece has already been gathered. Now it must be processed. The wool is cleaned. It is prepared. It is spun. It is woven. The work takes time. A household that needs clothing and blankets cannot simply wait for someone else to provide them. Textiles are a major part of daily life. They require patience. A spindle turns. A thread stretches. The fingers guide it. A loom holds the threads. The woven cloth slowly grows. Row by row. Thread by thread. There is something deeply repetitive about textile work. The same motion can continue for hours. Perhaps people talk while they work. Perhaps someone tells a story. Perhaps the room becomes quiet. The loom makes its own sounds. Wood moves. Thread tightens. Hands adjust. The work continues. A person might spend much of a season making cloth. The finished textile can become clothing. It can become a blanket. It can become something used around the house. It may be traded. It may become a valuable possession. The time hidden inside a piece of cloth is considerable. Many quiet hours. Many repeated movements. Many small decisions. The Viking world depended upon this kind of labor. And much of it was done by women. Women in Viking Age societies could have many responsibilities. They worked with textiles. They prepared food. They cared for children. They managed household resources. They handled animals. They took part in farming. They could be involved in trade. Their lives varied according to status, location, and circumstance. Some had more freedom or resources than others. Some lived in households with servants or enslaved people. Others worked constantly simply to keep their families fed. There was no single Viking woman. There was no single Viking household. Life could be very different from one place to another. Still, the repeated tasks of household life were important everywhere. Food had to be prepared. Clothing had to be made. Children had to be cared for. Animals had to be watched. Fuel had to be gathered. The work continued. And the work could be exhausting. A day of carrying, lifting, grinding, spinning, cooking, cleaning, walking, and caring for others could leave a person deeply tired. There was little separation between home and work. The home was where work happened. The farm was where work happened. The shore was where work happened. The workshop was where work happened. Life itself was work, interrupted by meals, conversation, rest, and sleep. The same was true for men. A man might spend hours in the field. He might cut wood, repair a building, work with animals, fish, build a boat, shape timber, work with iron, travel, trade. His work depended on the place where he lived. Some men may have spent long periods away. Others may have rarely traveled far. The famous image of the Viking as a constant traveler describes only part of the population. Most people had homes. Most people had daily responsibilities. Most people were connected to a particular piece of land. And even those who traveled often had somewhere to return to. Home mattered. The longhouse mattered. The farm mattered. The people waiting there mattered. So let us stay with one household through the winter. The snow has been falling for several days. The paths are covered. The fields are quiet. Inside the longhouse, the fire burns almost continuously. A person sits close to it. The warmth reaches one side of the body. The other side remains cooler. Someone is cooking. The smell of a stew fills the room. Perhaps there is meat. Perhaps fish. Perhaps grain and vegetables. Perhaps the ingredients are modest. But after working in the cold, warm food is comforting. A wooden spoon moves through the pot. Slowly. The fire makes the bottom of the pot warm. Steam rises. The room smells of food and smoke. Children wait. Someone tells them to be patient. They wait. The pot continues to simmer. Outside, snow falls silently. Inside, the household is warm. The meal is served. People gather. A bowl passes from one person to another. The food is simple. But simplicity does not mean it is without meaning. Food is the center of survival. Food is also part of family life. People sit together. They share. They talk. They become quiet. The meal ends. The bowls are cleaned. The fire remains. And then the next task begins. Perhaps someone has a knife that needs sharpening. Perhaps a wooden handle needs replacing. Perhaps a pair of shoes needs repair. The winter evening stretches ahead. There is time. The light outside has disappeared long ago. The hearth is now the main source of brightness. People sit around it. A small flame rises. Then lowers. A person picks up a tool. Another picks up wool. Someone begins to carve. The room fills with soft working sounds. This is not an idle evening. But neither is it hurried. Work and rest overlap. A person can be resting while doing something useful. The boundary between the two is gentle. Perhaps someone is making a comb. Combs were important personal objects. Hair needed care. A comb could be made from bone or antler. The maker carefully shapes the material. The teeth must be even enough to work. The surface is smoothed. A small object emerges. Something that will be used every day. Another person may be making a wooden spoon. Another may be repairing a basket. Another may be sorting wool. The longhouse becomes a workshop of small tasks. And outside, the snow continues. The winter world is quiet. There is no need to go outside unless necessary. The cold encourages people toward the fire. The fire becomes almost like another member of the household. It must be fed. It must be watched. It must not go out. It provides light. It provides heat. It cooks the food. It dries wet clothing. It helps make tools. It is central to everything. The smell of smoke becomes so familiar that people hardly notice it. Smoke clings to wool. It settles into hair. It enters the roof. It leaves through the opening above. The house is never completely free of it. But the smoke is part of the warmth. And warmth is valuable. A person may sit with their back toward the fire. The heat slowly reaches the shoulders. The body relaxes. The day's tiredness becomes more noticeable now. When work stops, tiredness has room to appear. The hands are sore. The legs are heavy. The back aches. The eyes are tired. Someone stretches. Someone yawns. The evening grows quieter. This is the part of the day when people begin to withdraw into themselves. Perhaps there is conversation around the fire. But eventually even conversation becomes less necessary. The fire speaks in its own way. Crackle. Pop. Silence. A piece of wood shifts. The embers glow. Outside, the wind brushes the walls. The household listens. Then does not listen. The sound becomes part of the background. A child falls asleep. Someone carries the child to a sleeping place. The child is covered. The adult returns to the fire. The room is quieter now. The people who remain awake continue their small tasks. One more stitch. One more piece of wood. One more turn of the spindle. Then perhaps that will be enough. There is always tomorrow. The winter does not require everything to be completed tonight. And so the household slowly settles. The same pattern repeats. Night after night. Snow after snow. Until eventually the light begins to return. But before we leave the longhouse, it is worth noticing something about time. People in the Viking Age lived with a different relationship to darkness. The night was not filled with artificial brightness. Once the sun disappeared, the world changed. Lamps could provide light. Candles existed. The hearth provided a strong glow. But light was limited and precious. This encouraged people to organize their lives around daylight. Work outside was easier during the day. Evening brought people inside. Winter brought longer periods of darkness. The rhythm of the year could therefore be felt very strongly. In summer, daylight stretched for many hours in the far north. The sun could remain above the horizon for much of the night. A person could step outside late in the evening and still find the landscape strangely bright. In winter, the opposite happened. The daylight became brief. The world could remain dim for long periods. This changing light shaped sleep, work, travel, and mood. It also made the seasons feel enormous. Summer was bright and busy. Winter was dark and inward. Spring was a return. Autumn was preparation. The year moved in a circle. And within that circle, people kept working. Spring eventually arrives. The snow begins to retreat. The ground becomes wet. Water runs along the edges of fields. The air changes. The smell of earth returns. The first signs of green appear. People notice. The fields are waking. The animals become more active. The days become longer. And the household begins preparing for another season of outdoor work. Tools are checked. Fences are repaired. Animals are moved. Fields are prepared. Seeds are saved. The work begins again. Spring is not gentle simply because it is beautiful. It can be demanding. The growing season is valuable. There is much to do. A farmer cannot wait too long. The land must be prepared. The seeds must go into the soil. The animals need attention. Buildings may have suffered during winter. A roof may need repair. A wall may have shifted. A boat may need work. Everything that was quiet during winter begins to move again. The settlement becomes busier. Paths become muddy. People walk between buildings. Animals graze. Children spend more time outside. The sea becomes easier to travel. Boats are checked. The shoreline becomes active. The longhouse is still the center of household life, but people spend more hours outdoors. The sun stays longer in the sky. Evening arrives later. There is more light for work. A person can continue for another hour. Then another. Eventually, however, the body reminds them that it has been working all day. A person sits down. Perhaps beneath the wall of a building. Perhaps near the edge of a field. Perhaps on a rock near the water. The sea moves in front of them. There is a cool breeze. The person breathes deeply. For a few moments, nothing needs to happen. The work can wait. This kind of pause is part of daily life. Not every moment is productive. People rest because they are tired. And tiredness comes easily when work is physical. A person carrying wood all morning becomes tired. A person grinding grain becomes tired. A person rowing becomes tired. A person digging becomes tired. A person spinning wool for hours may become tired. Even cooking can be tiring when every part of the process requires physical effort. Water must be carried. Fuel must be gathered. Food must be prepared. Nothing appears by itself. So rest is necessary. The person sits beside the field. The breeze moves over the grass. A bird calls. Somewhere behind them, someone is speaking. The sun is warm. The hands are still. The eyes close for a moment. Not sleep. Just rest. Then the person stands. The day continues. This is the pattern. Work. Pause. Work. Meal. Work. Rest. Sleep. And tomorrow, again. The Viking settlement grows more active as spring moves toward summer. There is more food available. The animals graze. The fields become green. The sea becomes brighter. Boats begin to move more frequently. People may travel to nearby settlements. Merchants may arrive. Goods may be exchanged. But the household remains tied to its daily needs. A trader might bring useful items from far away. A piece of metal. A stone suitable for sharpening. A fine textile. A glass bead. A small object from another region. These things can be interesting. But the household still needs food. The cow still needs milking. The field still needs attention. The roof still needs repair. The fire still needs fuel. The arrival of a distant object does not change the basic rhythm. The ordinary remains ordinary. And that is what makes it worth staying with. Because beneath the stories of voyages and trade routes, there was this quieter world. A person waking in the same house. Walking the same path. Eating the same kind of meal. Using the same tools. Knowing the same hills. Watching the same animals. Listening to the same sea. The landscape becomes familiar through repetition. A child growing up in such a place would learn the land almost as naturally as learning the names of family members. They might know where berries grow. Where water can be found. Where the ground becomes soft. Where the sheep like to wander. where a boat can be pulled safely ashore, where the wind is strongest, where snow gathers, where the sun reaches the house in the morning. The land is remembered in small details. There are no signs explaining it. No maps hanging everywhere. Just memory. And memory becomes part of survival. A person knows. A person remembers. A person teaches another. Then that knowledge continues. Summer arrives fully. The days become long. The fields require constant attention. The animals are outside. The sun remains high. There is more food. Fish are caught. Milk is available. Berries appear. Grain grows. The household is busy. The long days can be tiring because they encourage more work. There is always another task that can be completed while the light remains. A fence can be repaired. More hay can be gathered. More wood can be cut. A roof can be worked on. A boat can be maintained. The work seems endless because the daylight seems endless. But eventually the sun lowers. The light becomes soft. The heat of the day begins to leave the ground. The evening breeze returns. People slow down. A person carrying a bundle of grass stops near the house. The bundle is placed down. Someone else comes to help. They carry it inside. The animals are checked. The doors are closed. The day's tools are put away. The longhouse begins to gather everyone again. Food is prepared. A pot is placed over the fire. Someone sits nearby. The smell of warm grain fills the room. Outside, the sky remains bright for a little longer. This is one of the strange pleasures of northern summer. The evening can arrive without complete darkness. People may finish their work beneath a pale sky. The sea reflects the last light. The hills remain visible. The birds become quieter. The animals settle. The settlement slowly becomes still. Inside, someone eats. Someone repairs clothing. Someone speaks softly. A child becomes sleepy. The fire glows. And even though the sky outside may still hold light, the body knows the day is ending. Sleep does not always wait for complete darkness. The body becomes heavy. The hands stop working. The head becomes tired. The household settles. The longhouse grows quiet. And once again, the sea remains outside. It has been there all day. It will remain through the night. Its surface catches the last traces of light. Then darkness slowly covers it. The same water that carried boats now becomes a dark, quiet horizon. A boat rests near shore. Its ropes are secure. Its wooden sides are damp with evening air. The waves move beneath it. The boat rises. Falls. Rises. Falls. The motion is gentle. There is no one aboard. No one needs to be. The boat can rest. The fields can rest. The animals can rest. The people can rest. And for a few hours, the whole settlement becomes quiet. There is something almost circular about this life. The same things return. The same seasons. The same chores. The same fire. The same hunger. The same tiredness. The same need for warmth. But the people are not exactly the same. Children grow. Older people age. Families change. New houses appear. Old buildings are repaired. A field is used year after year. A boat becomes worn. A new one is built. A sheep is born. Another dies. A tree is cut. Another grows. The world changes slowly. Often too slowly to be noticed from one day to the next. But over many years, everything changes. The Viking Age itself was like this. It did not suddenly appear. It did not suddenly disappear. It was made of countless ordinary days. A little change here. A little movement there. A new settlement. A new trade route. A new family. A new generation. And beneath all of it, the simple rhythm of daily life. Fire. Food. Work. Water. Sleep. Morning. Night. Again. And again. Perhaps somewhere tonight, in the northern darkness, an ordinary Viking farmer is sleeping after a long day. Perhaps the house is small. Perhaps the fire has almost gone out. Perhaps there is snow outside. Perhaps rain. Perhaps a summer breeze. The details differ. But the feeling is familiar. The body has worked. The food has been eaten. The household is safe enough for sleep. The tools are waiting. The animals are quiet. The door is closed. And there is nothing left to do. Not tonight. The fire gives one final warm glow across the room. Someone turns in their sleep. A blanket shifts. The wind touches the roof. The sea moves beyond the settlement. And slowly, everything becomes still again. The night continues. The household breathes. The embers glow. And somewhere beneath the dark northern sky, another ordinary Viking night passes quietly toward morning. Continue whenever you're ready, and I'll carry the story forward from this same quiet night without restarting the narration. Morning comes softly. There is no sudden change. The darkness simply becomes a little lighter. The roof of the longhouse remains dark, but the doorway has begun to show a faint grayness. Outside, the air is cool. Inside, the embers are still warm. Someone wakes first. For a moment, the person does not move. There is nothing urgent. The household is quiet. A sleeping child breathes softly nearby. Someone else shifts beneath a wool blanket. The fire has almost disappeared, but a small red glow remains beneath the ash. The person sits up. The day is waiting. A hand reaches toward the hearth. The ash is moved carefully. There. A little red light. A little warmth. Dry material is placed over it. The person bends closer and breathes gently. The ember brightens. A tiny flame appears. More fuel is added. The fire grows. And once again, the center of the house begins to glow. The first task of the morning is complete. There is warmth. There is light. Soon there will be food. Outside, the sky continues to brighten. The northern morning is beginning. And with it comes the familiar work of another day. The door opens. Cold air enters. A person steps outside. The ground is damp from the night. In summer, there may be dew on the grass. In autumn, the ground may be dark and wet. In winter, snow may still cover everything. But whatever the season, the first moments outside have the same quiet feeling. The settlement is waking. A dog moves along the path. A horse turns its head. A few birds begin calling. Smoke rises from another house. Someone else has already started their fire. The settlement is becoming visible. Low buildings. Wooden walls. Earth. Grass. Fences. Animals. Fields. And beyond all of it, the sea. The sea is always there. Sometimes calm. Sometimes gray. Sometimes bright. Sometimes hidden by rain. It changes constantly, but its presence is steady. A person walking through the settlement may not think about it. It is simply part of the world. Like the hills. Like the wind. Like the earth beneath the feet. The morning chores begin. The animals need attention. The household needs water. The fire needs fuel. Food needs preparation. A person carries a bucket. The walk is familiar. The weight is familiar. The path is familiar. There is something peaceful about a task that has been performed so many times that the body knows exactly how to do it. Step. 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 The bucket swings slightly. The water moves inside. The person reaches the water source. Perhaps a stream. Perhaps a spring. Perhaps a well. The surface is cold. The bucket enters. Water rises. The person lifts. The weight increases. Then comes the walk home. The water will be used for drinking. For cooking. For washing. For animals. For many small needs. Water is one of the quiet foundations of daily life. People need it constantly, yet it must be carried. And carrying it is work. One journey. Then another. Then another. The same path becomes part of the household's daily rhythm. Back at the longhouse, the water is placed beside the hearth. The person who carried it may pause. Perhaps the shoulders are already tired. The day has barely begun. But the work continues. There is food to prepare. A pot is filled. Grain is measured. The fire is adjusted. The meal begins slowly. The household starts to gather. Children wake. Someone sits up. A blanket is folded. Someone steps outside. Someone asks about the weather. The answer is simple. Cold. Wet. Clear. Windy. The weather decides so much. A good day can make work easier. A difficult day can change the plans of an entire household. If heavy rain comes, field work becomes unpleasant. If strong wind arrives, fishing may become dangerous. If snow comes early, travel becomes harder. If the summer stays warm and dry, crops may benefit. People must pay attention. They cannot control the weather. They can only respond to it. And so they watch the sky. They watch the sea. They watch the clouds. They notice the direction of the wind. They feel the air against the skin. The weather is information. The sky tells them something. The land tells them something. The animals may tell them something. The season tells them something. Life is a continual conversation with the environment. The meal is ready. It may be simple. Porridge. Bread or another grain food. Fish. Dairy. Perhaps leftover meat. Perhaps berries or other foods gathered during the season. There is no need for a large breakfast. There is work ahead. People eat enough to begin. The bowls are passed around. Someone blows gently over hot food. A child waits for it to cool. The fire burns. The household wakes fully. And soon the day divides itself. Some people go outside. Others remain inside. Some work together. Others work alone. The Viking household is not a place where everyone performs the same task. Age matters. Skill matters. Strength matters. Experience matters. The season matters. A person who knows how to weave may spend much of the day at the loom. A person who understands animals may spend more time with them. A skilled carpenter may work on a boat. A blacksmith may work with iron. A farmer may work in the field. A fisherman may take a boat out. But people are not limited to only one kind of work. When the harvest needs help, many hands may be needed. When a building needs repair, many people may contribute. When food needs to be prepared, several people may be involved. Life is flexible. The household adapts. And that flexibility is necessary. Because the land does not always provide exactly what people want. A harvest can fail. An animal can become sick. A boat can be damaged. A roof can leak. A tool can break. A person can become ill. There are many things that can make an ordinary day more difficult. Illness is especially difficult in a world without modern medicine. A fever can weaken someone. A wound can become serious. A tooth can ache. A cough can last. A person who becomes sick may not be able to work. And when much of daily life depends upon physical labor, sickness affects the entire household. Someone must care for the sick person. Someone must bring water. Someone must prepare food. Someone must keep the fire going. Someone else may need to perform the work that the sick person normally does. The household adjusts again. There may be knowledge of herbs. There may be traditional remedies. There may be practical care. There may be rest. But some illnesses are simply allowed to run their course. The person lies near the fire. The room is warm. A cup or bowl is brought. Someone sits nearby. The sick person sleeps. Outside, the ordinary world continues. Animals still need feeding. The fields still need work. The sea still moves. The household must continue, even while making room for weakness. This is another quiet truth of daily life. People are not strong all the time. Bodies become tired. Bodies become sick. Bodies heal slowly. And sometimes they do not. But tonight we remain with the quieter moments. A person rests beside the fire. The warmth touches the face. The sound of work continues somewhere beyond the sleeping place. The person closes their eyes. For a little while, nothing is required. The household keeps moving. The sick person rests. And perhaps, after a long sleep, strength returns. Outside, work has begun again. A farmer walks toward the fields. The ground is soft. The morning is still cool. A tool rests against one shoulder. The path passes between buildings. A few people are already working. Someone repairs a fence. Someone carries a basket. Someone leads an animal. The settlement feels ordinary. There is no great event happening. And that is exactly why we remain here. History is often remembered through unusual moments. But a person's life is mostly made of the usual. The same work. The same meals. The same roads. The same faces. The same seasons. The same places. A farmer reaches the field. The soil needs attention. The tool enters the earth. The body moves. Again. 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 The work is not complicated to understand. But it is difficult because it must be repeated. The sun climbs. The person continues. Sweat begins to form. The morning coolness fades. The back becomes warm. The hands grip the tool. The soil moves. A few birds search nearby. The farmer pauses. A hand wipes the forehead. The work resumes. There is no need to fill every moment with thought. The body works. The mind can become quiet. This is one of the strange comforts of repetitive labor. The movement becomes familiar. The rhythm takes over. The same motion. The same sound. The same earth. A person can almost disappear into the work. And after a while, the field begins to look different. A little more prepared. A little more orderly. The progress is small. But it is real. The farmer pauses again. The wind moves over the crops. There is a smell of grass and earth. The person looks toward the settlement. The longhouses are small from here. Smoke rises. A dog runs between them. Beyond the houses, the water is visible. Everything is connected. Field. House. Animal. Sea. People. Food. The farmer returns to work. Meanwhile, inside the longhouse, someone is preparing food. Food preparation begins long before the meal. A fish must be cleaned. Grain must be ground. Milk must be handled. Meat must be preserved. Vegetables must be washed. Firewood must be brought. The hearth must be maintained. A meal may seem simple when it is placed in front of a person. But behind that meal are many hours. The grain was planted. The crop was cared for. The grain was harvested. It was stored. It was brought out. It was ground. The flour or meal was prepared. Then it became food. A single bowl can contain the work of many days. This is especially clear when considering winter. Summer food cannot simply be allowed to disappear. It must be preserved. Fish can be dried. Meat can be salted or smoked. Grain can be stored. Dairy products can be processed in ways that extend their usefulness. Berries can be dried. Other foods can be stored in suitable conditions. The household must think ahead. A good summer meal is pleasant. A well-prepared winter store is survival. And so preservation becomes another ordinary skill. A person hangs fish where air can dry it. The smell is strong. The work is repetitive. The fish are arranged. The process continues. Another person works with meat. Salt is used carefully. Smoke moves through the air. A piece of food is placed where it can be preserved. Nothing happens quickly. Preservation requires patience. Days pass. The food changes. It becomes suitable for storage. The household now has something for later. This is one of the great themes of Viking life. Later is always present. Winter is coming. Animals will need food later. Clothing will be needed later. The roof will need to survive storms later. The grain will need to last. The boat will need repair. People are constantly preparing for what comes next. But they do not know exactly what will happen. They simply prepare as well as they can. A household gathers hay. The grass has been cut. It dries. It must be stored carefully. The work can be heavy. Bundles are lifted, carried, stacked. A person climbs. Another passes the material upward. The hay grows into a large store. The smell is dry and sweet. The work continues under the summer sun. Sweat runs down the back. Hands become dusty. Clothing becomes dirty. The body grows tired. Eventually, someone stops. The work is enough for now. The person sits in the shade. The shadow is welcome. A drink of water is brought. The person drinks slowly. The water is cool. The body feels better. For a few minutes, there is no work. The hay remains. The sun remains. The wind remains. The person simply sits. Perhaps another worker joins. There is no need to talk. They watch the field. A bird passes overhead. The grass moves. The day continues. This is rest. Simple. Necessary. Quiet. Then they return to work. The hay must be finished. The summer days are long, but they are not endless. Eventually autumn comes. The green begins to change. The air becomes cooler. The mornings become darker. The fields turn gold and brown. The harvest approaches. This is one of the most important periods of the year. People gather crops. Grain is cut. Bundles are carried. The work can involve many people. Children may help with small tasks. Adults handle the heavier work. Older people may help with sorting and preparation. The settlement becomes busy. There is movement everywhere. Baskets. Tools. Animals. People. Grain. The harvest must be brought in. The weather matters greatly. Rain at the wrong time can cause problems. A clear day is welcome. The sun shines. People work. The field slowly empties. The crop is gathered. And as evening comes, everyone is tired. The kind of tiredness after harvest is deep. It reaches the shoulders, the arms, the legs, the back, the hands. A person may sit beside the house and feel too tired to speak. The work has been done. Not completely. There is still more. But enough for today. Someone brings food. People eat. The meal tastes better because of the work that made it possible. The grain came from the field. The field was worked by these same hands. The connection is direct. The food is not abstract. It is the result of labor. A person eats. The sky darkens. The fire is lit. The settlement becomes quiet. And again, the longhouse becomes a shelter from the world. The harvested grain is stored. The household checks it. Is it dry? Is it safe? Will it last? These questions matter. A store of food provides a sense of security. But it must be protected. Pests can damage grain. Moisture can ruin it. Animals can get into it. People must be careful. Storage itself is a form of work. The harvest is not truly finished until the food is safely stored. A household may have jars, containers, wooden boxes, sacks, or other forms of storage depending on local practice and resources. Some food may be kept in special storage pits or buildings. The details differ. The basic need does not. Food must remain edible. And so the household watches it. The winter store becomes part of the mental landscape. A person knows what is available. How much grain? How much dried fish? How much meat? How much dairy? How much fuel? How much hay? The household has a quiet inventory in the mind. There may be no written list. Memory is enough. The people know. They have seen the stores. They have handled them. They have prepared them. The winter is coming. And then, gradually, it arrives. The first frost appears. The morning grass is stiff. The water near the shore becomes colder. The wind changes. The days shorten. People spend more time indoors. The longhouse fills again. The same room that was warm in summer is now essential. The fire becomes larger. The household gathers around it. Wool becomes more common. Heavy clothing returns. Cloaks are brought out. Blankets are needed. Shoes and leather items are repaired. The cold makes every small gap noticeable. A door must fit properly. A wall must hold. A roof must keep out rain and snow. The house must protect the people inside. The longhouse becomes a place of winter concentration. The outside world is reduced. Inside there is work. The loom. The spindle. The carving knife. The fire. The cooking pot. The animals. The sleeping places. People live close together. And when people live close together, they learn each other's habits. Someone likes to sit in one place. Someone always reaches for the same tool. Someone wakes early. Someone sleeps late. Someone speaks more. Someone is quiet. Children move around. Animals make sounds. Life is crowded. But it is familiar. A person may know the room almost entirely by touch. They know where the bench ends. Where the hearth begins. Where the stored food is kept. Where clothing hangs. Where tools rest. Where the door is. Even in darkness, they can move through it. The house becomes part of the body. Outside, winter deepens. The sea may be rough. Travel becomes harder. The fields are quiet. The animals stay closer. The settlement becomes smaller. And yet inside, time continues. People work. Someone spins wool. The spindle turns. The thread grows. Someone repairs a fishing net. A broken section is found. The cord is tied. The net becomes useful again. Someone sharpens a knife. A small blade moves against a stone. Back and forth. The sound is soft. Someone carves wood. A shaving falls. Another. Another. The piece begins to take shape. These winter tasks are not glamorous. They are useful. And usefulness is what matters. The Viking world was full of things that had to work. A boat had to float. A rope had to hold. A knife had to cut. A roof had to protect. A shoe had to survive walking. A tool had to survive work. A garment had to keep a person warm. A storage container had to protect food. A house had to shelter people. The practical world was everywhere. Beauty existed too. People decorated objects. Jewelry could be elaborate. Textiles could contain careful patterns. Woodwork could be shaped with skill. But beauty often lived alongside usefulness. A beautiful object could still serve a purpose. A decorated brooch held clothing. A carved box stored things. A carefully made comb was used every day. A patterned textile covered a person. The ordinary world could be beautiful without becoming separate from daily life. This can be seen in personal grooming too. People cared about appearance. Combs were common. Hair could be arranged. Clothing could be worn carefully. Jewelry could indicate wealth, identity, or personal taste. People did not simply wake, work, and forget how they looked. There was time for grooming. There was attention to clothing. There was attention to personal objects. A person might sit near the fire and carefully comb their hair. The comb passes through. Slowly. The hair is arranged. The object is put away. Another small task completed. The body is cared for. This is part of daily life too. The Vikings were not only workers. They were people who ate, slept, talked, cared for their bodies, raised children, worried about the future, and enjoyed moments of comfort. A person could be exhausted from labor and still take pleasure in a warm meal. A person could spend hours in the field and later sit beside the fire with family. A person could be tired and still laugh quietly. A person could worry and still sleep. The ordinary human experience remains beneath the historical details. And perhaps that is why this world feels strangely close. The names are different. The clothing is different. The buildings are different. The tools are different. But the basic rhythms remain. Wake. Eat. Work. Rest. Care for others. Become tired. Sleep. Then wake again. Winter evenings become longer. Stories may fill some of the time. People tell stories because memory matters. Stories can carry family histories. They can explain old events. They can remember ancestors. They can entertain. They can teach. A person may listen while working with wool. Another may sit near the fire. Children listen from their sleeping places. The storyteller speaks. The fire moves. The wind passes outside. The story continues. But even storytelling does not need to be dramatic. A quiet voice can carry far enough in a small room. People do not need to shout. The household is close. The fire provides light. The winter night surrounds the house. There is nowhere else to go. So the story continues. Then eventually the storyteller becomes tired. The voice slows. Someone yawns. The room becomes quieter. A child falls asleep. Another person begins to prepare the fire for the night. A final piece of wood is placed on the embers. The flame rises. The household settles. Outside, snow begins again. Small flakes touch the ground. The path disappears. The field becomes white. The roof becomes pale. The animals remain sheltered. The sea is dark. The wind moves over everything. Inside, the warmth remains. A person lies down. The bedding is simple. But the body is tired. The eyes close. The fire glows. There is a faint smell of smoke. The sound of breathing fills the room. And slowly, the mind releases the day. The field is finished. The tools are put away. The animals are fed. The food is stored. The door is closed. Nothing more needs to be done. Not now. The household sleeps. And outside, the winter landscape becomes almost completely silent. The snow softens footsteps. The wind becomes the loudest sound. The sea continues beyond the darkness. Somewhere, perhaps, a small animal moves through the snow. Then stops. The night remains. Hours pass. The fire settles into embers. Someone wakes briefly. They listen. The house is still. They turn over. Sleep returns. This is how many nights pass. Not with great events, but with small interruptions. A child waking. A fire being fed. A wind becoming stronger. Rain striking the roof. A person turning in sleep. The ordinary details of life continue even during the hours when nobody is fully awake. And then morning comes again. Always morning. Even after the longest night. A faint light appears. Someone stirs. The fire is brought back. The animals need attention. The household begins again. There is something steady about this. The year changes. The weather changes. The people change. But morning returns. The work returns. Food returns. Sleep returns. The rhythm continues. And perhaps the deepest simplicity of Viking life lies here. The people could not control very much. They could not control the sea. They could not command the weather. They could not prevent every illness. They could not guarantee a harvest. They could not stop winter from arriving. So they learned to live with uncertainty by building routines. Feed the animals. Store the grain. Repair the roof. Prepare the clothing. Keep the fire. Watch the weather. Care for the children. Look after the sick. Fix what breaks. Save what can be saved. Rest when tired. Sleep when night comes. Then begin again. A life can be difficult and still contain quiet moments. A person can work hard and still enjoy warmth. A household can worry about winter and still sit together around a meal. A fisherman can fear rough water and still love the calm sea. A farmer can struggle with the soil and still know the comfort of seeing crops grow. A craftsperson can work until the hands ache and still feel satisfaction when a useful object is finished. These small feelings are easily lost when history is told only through major events. But they were there. They belonged to ordinary people. And ordinary people made up most of the Viking world. So let us remain with them. Let us stay near the hearth. The winter night is not over yet. The fire has burned down again. A small red glow rests beneath the ash. Someone reaches toward it. A little fuel. A little breath. The glow returns. The room becomes warm. The person settles back. Outside, the northern wind moves across the roof. The fields are hidden beneath darkness. The sea is somewhere beyond the settlement. The animals are quiet. The tools are waiting. The food stores are safe for another night. And inside the longhouse, people sleep. The same walls surround them. The same hearth warms them. The same darkness surrounds the house. For now, there is nothing to repair. Nothing to carry. Nothing to harvest. Nothing to cross. Nothing to build. Only sleep. The fire glows softly. The room becomes still. And the slow northern night continues, quietly carrying this ordinary household toward another pale morning. Now the long journey can finally become quiet. I'll let the Viking world slowly fade into a peaceful northern night, with no sudden ending and no dramatic conclusion. The night has settled over the northern land. The longhouse is quiet now. The fire has become a low bed of glowing embers. Every so often, a small flame rises between the pieces of wood, soft and brief, before sinking back into the warmth. The people inside are sleeping. The day's work is finished. The animals have been fed. The doors are closed. The tools are resting where they were left. Outside, the fields lie beneath the darkness. The sea moves slowly beyond them. And for a little while, nothing needs to happen. There is no work to complete. No road to follow. No boat to prepare. No grain to grind. No wool to spin. No wood to cut. The morning will bring those things again. But morning has not come yet. For now, there is only the night. Perhaps the wind moves gently across the roof. Perhaps rain touches the walls. Perhaps snow lies quietly over the ground. Perhaps the sky is clear, with cold stars scattered across the darkness. The details change with the season. The feeling remains. A household is sleeping. A fire is glowing. The northern world is resting. And slowly, after so many ordinary days, we can allow ourselves to notice how much of Viking life was made from simple things. A warm place beside a fire. A bowl of food after a long day. Dry clothing when the weather turns cold. A roof that keeps the rain away. A familiar path through the fields. The sound of water beside the shore. The smell of wood smoke. The quiet presence of family. The comfort of knowing where everything belongs. These things may seem small, but a life is made from small things. The Vikings who lived in these houses did not know that centuries later people would look back at their world and give it a name. They did not know that archaeologists would uncover the remains of their houses. They did not know that old tools, pieces of pottery, combs, beads, bones, boat parts, and fragments of cloth would survive beneath the soil. They did not know that their ordinary lives would become part of history. They were simply living. A farmer was thinking about the field. A fisher was thinking about the weather. A craftsperson was thinking about a broken tool. A mother was thinking about a child. A child was thinking about tomorrow. Someone was thinking about food. Someone was thinking about winter. Someone was simply tired. And someone was asleep. That was enough. The Viking world was not a world made only of ships. It was not made only of warriors. It was not made only of kings and distant lands. It was also made of people waking before sunrise. People carrying water. People tending animals. People grinding grain. People making cloth. People cleaning fish. People gathering firewood. People repairing walls. People watching children. People sitting quietly beside a hearth. People growing old. People falling asleep. The great events of history passed through their world. But most days remained ordinary. The season still arrived. The work still waited. The meals were still prepared. The fire still needed fuel. And the sea still moved against the shore. Imagine that shore now. The night is very dark. The water is almost black. The waves arrive quietly. They touch the stones. Then retreat. A little farther out, a boat rests in the water. Its wooden sides rise and fall gently. There is no one aboard. The ropes are still. The oars are quiet. The boat does not need to travel tonight. It can simply rest. The same sea that once carried people toward distant places is now only a quiet presence in the darkness. The water does not tell stories. It does not remember names. It simply moves. In. Out. In. Out. The rhythm continues. And perhaps the people in the longhouse can hear it faintly. Perhaps the sound reaches them through the walls. Perhaps it becomes mixed with the sound of breathing. The fire. The wind. The water. All blending together. A person turns beneath a blanket. The wool is warm. The body is tired. The day has left its weight in the muscles. The hands have worked. The feet have walked. The back has carried. The eyes have watched. Now they can close. There is comfort in not needing to move. The darkness is gentle. The house is familiar. The people nearby are familiar. Sleep comes slowly. And perhaps, somewhere inside that sleeping mind, the next morning is already waiting. The fire will be brought back. Water will be carried. Animals will be fed. A door will open. Cold air will enter. The sky will brighten. Someone will step outside. The settlement will wake. And another ordinary day will begin. But not yet. For now, the night remains. Let the morning wait. Let the fields wait. Let the boats wait. Let the tools wait. The northern land has been working for a long time. Now it rests. The Viking Age itself has also become quiet. The people who once walked these paths are gone. The voices that once filled the longhouses have disappeared. The hands that spun the wool are still. The hands that shaped the wood are still. The hands that carried water are still. The people who watched the sea are gone. The people who waited for boats to return are gone. The children who once ran across these fields grew old and became memories. And yet the land remains. The hills remain. The rivers remain. The sea continues moving. Grass grows over old paths. Earth covers old houses. Trees grow where people once walked. Rain falls over fields that were once carefully planted. The wind moves through places where voices once gathered. Time has a way of becoming very quiet. One day becomes another. One generation becomes another. Then another. And another. The Viking world slowly passes into the distance. But some traces remain. A stone. A piece of wood. A metal object. A buried foundation. A fragment of cloth. A comb. A cooking vessel. A tool. A boat. A few lines written by someone else, far away. These things remain because ordinary people leave traces without intending to. They drop objects. They repair houses. They burn fires. They bury the dead. They walk paths. They build fences. They plant crops. They use tools until the tools become worn. The earth slowly gathers these details. Then centuries pass. And one day, someone finds them again. Perhaps they lift an old object from the soil. It is dark with age. Its original owner is unknown. But the object was once held by human hands. Someone used it. Someone needed it. Someone carried it. Someone put it down. Perhaps they expected to pick it up again tomorrow. They never imagined that it would still exist hundreds of years later. This is one of the quiet mysteries of history. People live in the present. They rarely know what will survive them. An ordinary bowl can survive. A famous speech can disappear. A simple tool can remain. A great house can collapse. A small piece of jewelry can survive beneath the earth. The future chooses its memories in strange ways. But tonight, we do not need to think about the future. We can return to the house. Return to the fire. Return to the sleeping household. The embers are still glowing. A small piece of wood shifts. The sound is soft. Someone moves in sleep. The firelight touches the wall. Then disappears. Outside, the sky is changing very slowly. Not yet morning. But somewhere beyond the darkness, morning is waiting. The horizon is still hidden. The sea remains black. The hills are only shadows. The house remains warm. And the people continue sleeping. Perhaps one person dreams. Perhaps someone dreams about the field. Perhaps about the sea. Perhaps about a family member. Perhaps about nothing at all. Sleep does not need a story. Sometimes it is simply rest. The body becomes heavy. The mind becomes quiet. The world becomes distant. And so the household rests. There is something deeply peaceful about imagining this. Not because Viking life was easy. It was not. There was hard work. There was illness. There was hunger. There were dangers. There were difficult winters. There were losses. There were uncertainties. But between those difficult things were ordinary moments of comfort. A warm bowl. A dry cloak. A quiet evening. A child's sleepy voice. A fire on a cold night. A familiar hand repairing a familiar object. A meal shared with others. A place to lie down. A roof above the head. A morning that arrives after a long night. These moments are easy to overlook. But they are part of the human story. And perhaps they are the most peaceful part. Because history is not only about what happened. It is also about how people spent the hours when nothing remarkable happened. How they waited. How they worked. How they rested. How they ate. How they slept. How they woke. How they continued. The Vikings continued. Day after day. Season after season. The sea continued. The fields continued. The fire continued. The generations continued. Until eventually, their world changed into another world. The Viking Age became a memory. But the quiet rhythms of ordinary life never truly disappeared. Someone is always preparing food. Someone is always carrying water. Someone is always repairing something. Someone is always watching the weather. Someone is always waiting for morning. And someone is always falling asleep after a long day. The details change. The human rhythm remains. So let us stay one last time beside the northern hearth. The fire is low. The room is dark. The sleeping people are warm. The roof is above them. The walls are around them. The earth is beneath them. Outside, the wind moves gently. The sea is breathing against the shore. The boat is resting. The fields are sleeping beneath the night. The animals are quiet. Nothing is asking for attention. Nothing needs to be solved. Nothing needs to be hurried. The past can simply be still. And perhaps this is where we can leave the Viking household. Not in the middle of a voyage. Not beneath the sound of battle. Not at the center of a royal hall. But here. Beside a quiet fire. Inside a simple home. At the end of an ordinary day. A person has worked. A person has eaten. A person has become tired. And now that person sleeps. The fire glows. The sea moves. The night deepens. The northern sky stretches endlessly overhead. The stars remain quiet. The wind passes over the grass. The waves touch the shore. Then retreat. Again. And again. The house remains still. The centuries pass silently around it. The names disappear. The voices disappear. The footsteps disappear. But for this final quiet moment, we can imagine them still there. A sleeping household. A warm hearth. A wool blanket. A wooden wall. A soft breath. A faint sound of water. And the slow movement of the night. Let the fire become smaller. Let the room become darker. Let the sounds become softer. The day's work is finished. The fields can rest. The animals can rest. The boats can rest. The tools can rest. The people can rest. And you can rest too. There is nowhere else to go tonight. No need to hurry. No need to remember every detail. Let the old northern landscape become distant now. Let the longhouse fade softly into darkness. Let the fire become only a small warm glow. Let the sea become only a quiet sound beyond the shore. In. Out. In. Out. The waves continue. The wind continues. The night continues. And slowly, the Viking world becomes smaller and smaller in the darkness. The house becomes a shadow. The fire becomes an ember. The ember becomes a tiny point of warmth. And then even that becomes quiet. The fields remain beneath the stars. The sea remains beside the land. The ancient paths remain beneath the grass. The old homes rest beneath the earth. Everything is quiet. Everything is still. The long northern night stretches peacefully toward morning. And somewhere beyond the dark horizon, the first pale light is waiting. But there is no need to reach it yet. For now, simply remain here. Beside the sleeping sea. Under the quiet sky. Near the last warmth of the ancient hearth. Let the past drift farther away. Let the old voices become softer. Let the wooden houses disappear into the darkness. Let the wind carry the last sounds across the fields. Let the waves wash gently against the shore. And as the night becomes deeper and softer, allow the Viking world to rest. The work is finished. The fire is low. The doors are closed. The household is asleep. The sea is calm. The land is quiet. And the long, slow story of another ordinary northern day has finally become still. Sleep softly. Rest deeply. Let the ancient night remain far away beneath the stars. And let the quiet sound of the northern sea carry everything gently into silence. And now, the northern night grows quieter. The longhouse is warm. The fire has become a soft glow beneath the ash. Outside, the sea moves gently against the shore, carrying the same slow rhythm it has carried for countless generations. The fields are dark. The animals are resting. The tools have been placed aside. The day's work is finished. Inside the house, the people sleep beneath wool and simple blankets, their tired bodies finally still after another long day of carrying, building, cooking, farming, fishing, weaving, and caring for one another. Nothing more is needed tonight. The grain is stored. The doors are closed. The fire remains. The sea remains. And the quiet northern sky stretches above everything. Perhaps the wind moves softly over the grass. Perhaps a few stars shine through the darkness. Perhaps the last sound heard before sleep is the faint crackle of the hearth, followed by the distant rhythm of water touching the shore. Again. And again. The world of the Vikings slowly fades into the darkness. The longhouses become shadows. The fields become shadows. The old paths disappear beneath the night. Only the sea remains for a little while longer. And then even that sound becomes softer. The past is quiet now. The people are sleeping. The fire is resting. The night is deep. So let the old northern world drift gently away. There is nothing left to hurry toward. Nothing left to carry. Nothing left to repair. Only rest. Only darkness. Only the slow breathing of a sleeping household beneath the ancient northern sky. And as the final warmth of the hearth fades softly into the night, let the Viking world become still. Quiet. Distant. And peaceful. The waves continue their slow journey beside the shore. The stars remain above the sleeping land. And somewhere beyond the darkness, morning waits patiently. But for now, there is only night. And silence.